connection to the Ukraine-Russia war. Now, the Kremlin has denied reports suggesting that three-way talks between Ukraine, Russia and United States are being planned as diplomats gathered in Miami to discuss possible ways to end the conflict. Russian officials said there has been no serious discussion on such an initiative so far. President Vladimir Putin's foreign policy advisor, Yuri Ushakov, told reporters that to his knowledge, no preparations are underway for any trilateral meeting. His comments were carried by Russian state news agencies and appeared aimed at pushing back against speculation around potential diplomatic breakthroughs. The denial comes at a time when international efforts to explore negotiation options are continuing, but with no clear sign of direct engagement between all sides. The war in Ukraine remains unresolved, with diplomatic channels still limited and oppositions sharply divided. I'm now joined in by Glenn Grant, who's ex-advisor to Defense Minister of Ukraine, and he joins us from Latvia. Thank you very much, Mr. Grant, for joining us and for being available to NewsX World for this conversation. Mr. Grant, now we had statements coming in from Zelensky, who said that there are proposals of trilateral talks between Russia and Ukraine with US as the negotiators. Now, of course, Kremlin has issued a statement to deny knowledge of any such meeting or talks in Miami. Would you have thought anyway that such a trilateral talk, even if organized, would help in achieving a ceasefire as desired?
No, I don't. I mean, Putin was offered the opportunity of a ceasefire over Christmas by all sides, and of course he didn't take this up. And he's made it very clear, as have all his team, that Russia intends to keep this war going, and then probably once, in their words, once they've actually defeated Ukraine, then move into a war against Europe as well. So there's no chance of talks, three-way talks at all, because they will be meaningless.
Sure. What are your expectations from the latest round in Miami?
None. I think that Ukraine is giving and giving and giving and giving to the Americans on these talks all the time, to the point of stupidity almost. But the red lines, they can't go on this red line, past this red line of giving up territory, because the country will not allow it. So Zelensky would be removed very quickly if he actually signed anything that said we're giving up land.
Do you also see Ukraine in a position to hold election if all goes well?
Not really. I mean, when you think where the people are all over the world now of Ukrainians and a large amount of them in the occupied territories, it will be extremely difficult to do that. And anyway, the country would just vote Zelensky back in out of sheer spite for Russia, and America. So it's pointless. I mean, the next steps have got to be people reinforcing Ukraine so that Ukraine can actually win the war.
But your former prime minister had issued a statement to say that Zelensky, in fact, does not want to hold election at all.
Yeah.
So if he's going to be winning, why would he not want to hold election?
Zelensky doesn't want to hold elections because it would be a mess, and it would be a mess to the advantage of Russia at the time, and so the country doesn't want elections. The country is quite stable in that respect. That they know that Zelensky needs to be changed, but they don't want to do so until and have elections until the war is won. Until then, they're quite willing to bully Zelensky to get him to do what the society needs him to do.
What do you think should Ukraine really do to, have its demands met?
Oh, well, win. There is no other. This is not a war like Iraq or Iran where you just dip in and dip out. This is a war to the death. Russia has invaded. Ukraine is fighting back as hard as it can to regain its sovereignty. The only thing is, Ukraine has got to get its land back, and it's doing some pretty serious attacks against Russia in depth at the moment. against Russian oil and other facilities. So Russia is a lot closer to breaking than people realize.
But Mr. Grant, every time that Zelensky is saying that, oh, we have occupied this territory back, or oh, we have Kupiansk still with us, Russia is issuing a statement that no such attempt has been successful. And from an international perspective and as an international, viewer, I and many others would say that the talks are only in stalemate. There is no real progress happening, but talks still go on and no particular outcome coming out of it.
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's absolutely true. I mean, that the war, the war is moving backwards and forwards on the front line. I mean, the Russians have actually taken a very small amount of land since they invaded seriously 4 years ago.
About 20% of Ukraine. Would you say that's small?
Yes, at the moment, considering how the Second World War was won in 4 years, and Russia went all the way from from Moscow to Vienna in a couple of years. What they've done at the moment is relatively small and still winnable back. It's not an overwhelming amount. Let's just say that. It's still nasty. But what's got to happen is Russia has got to be broken. Ukraine may not win the land back, but it's working towards breaking Russia, where Russia actually has to withdraw.
But isn't Russia too big? Its infrastructure well established for Ukraine to be able to win over, especially when clearly the war seems to be slipping away from Zelensky.
The war is not skipping away from Zelensky at all. Zelensky's playing a very shrewd political game at the moment, and the war is only moving forward slightly on the front line, but in the rear there is a lot of damage done to Russia, and Russia's infrastructure is old and breaking. They've still got mud roads from where major highways should be. So don't assume just because Russia is big. Size is also its weak point. Because it's got very few people to cover all that size, and actually limited resources to maintain infrastructure, and limited because they're wasting so much of it on things, defense things that they're probably never ever going to use.
All right, well, I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Grant, for joining me in this discussion.